Good morning, sports fans. This is George, Custom Time Flies and Guide Service. And today we're going to be building the CT Pale Alevin. I will put the ingredients in the description on this. Excuse me. So I'll walk you through what I'm using as I'm using it. This is what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so let me get another hook in the old vise here. Starting off with a Gamakatsu B10S, and I'm using Semperfli. Okay, there you go. Semperfli Nanosilk in a 50 denier white. The trick to getting this tied in where you don't have a lot of waste is to make big loops and then tighten them down. Whoop. Sometimes even the trick doesn't work. And then tighten them down slowly until you can start building a thread base. And then the trick to cutting this stuff is the slice. Don't snip, slice. Build you a thread base. And you're going to have to give me a minute so I can put a little bit more light on the subject. Okay, now that I can see what I'm doing a little better. Next up is silver UTC wire in small. You could also use BR if you wanted. And what I do is I wrap it around the thing there, and then I chop a piece off with my old scissors. And that way I can put the spool away, and I don't have to fool with it. And then to keep track of it, I take a pair of hackle pliers, and I put the hackle pliers on the wire. So you want to get this piece of wire tied in. The thing I like about this Semperfli thread is it's a flat thread, so you can manipulate it to where the diameter that you want. You can either have it flat or round or whatever, just like any other flat thread. So next is Veevus Holotinsel, size large. Now I do leave this on the spool. Get it tied in. You don't want to tug on it until you got a few good wraps. And then when you're applying this, just drag your spool down a little bit. All right. Now for this next part, you can use You can use head cement, you can use UV resin, you can use a little super glue, but you're going to want something that's going to hold this piece of Antron. This is Cascade Crest. Antron Chenille, there you go. So you're going to want something that's going to hold this piece of Antron Chenille in place. So basically, to get the measurement on it, you want a shank length sticking out past the hook. So, and I just measured it on my ruler at 1 3/4 inches. And that's what I went with. And of course, then, you know, you're going to pull a little bit of this off. And when you snip it, you're going to melt the end, like I did here with a lighter or fire something. In this case, I'm going to use some UV resin. This is Solarez thick. And I'm just going to paint that all the way around. And I'm going to add my piece of Cascade Crest Antron Chenille. See, I've got a drippy going there, so we're just going to take that drippy out. Just tie that in right up behind the eye. And then you're going to advance your thread back, leaving room for your 3D eyes that are coming here. Okay, so you're going to take your rib. I'm going to use my hackle pliers here. You want to pull your tail out straight and kind of push it over to the side a little bit. And you should get 3 or 4 wraps, 5 wraps of rib. It's funny, when I was investigating what hook to use on this, you know, I started off with a medium shank curved nymph hook and a caddis hook, and none of them were giving me the shank length that I needed. So I just decided to go with this Gamakatsu B10S stinger hook. It gave me the wide gap and the shank length that I needed. All right, so we're going to snip that off with our old scissors. And you just kind of, there we go. Now you can take your light, you just see how that's crooked? You just want to spin that around so it's straight. And then you can take your light and it'll seize in place. And, you know, that way also you don't get a lot of gluey glumps in the tail. All right. Next up is your egg sac. I'm using Hareline's fluorescent orange parapost wing. And I'm just going to trim that. And there's my egg sac. I'm going to trim that little excess clump off of there. And then here I'm going to use a pinch wrap. You want to make sure that your material doesn't spin on you. And my egg sac is a little big. It should be about half the distance between the tie-in point and the point of the hook. So there we go. That'll do it. And then we'll just get rid of this little bit here. You want to be very careful that you don't crowd your eye, because it's really easy to do here. And you want to make sure that you're leaving plenty of space for your 3D sticker eye. All right, so next for the gills, I'm using fish fur, which is a very fine material that I have misplaced the original packaging for. I think I got it at Hareline. I might have got it at Nature Spirit. I might have bought it retail, because I've had it for a really long time. That's wrong. Okay, so for this fish fur, you don't want to wrap, you want to place. Okay, so this gill here, right? And then you just take a couple wraps of thread. And then you're going to bring the other gill under. And then you want to trim them off so they're about even. All right, so in order to get these eyes on, you're going to have to glue them on. I like to use the Zap-A-Gap that I get from EP Fibers. But, you know, you can also order it direct from the manufacturer. It's called zapadhesives.com. And, you know, they'll sell it to you. Excuse me. But one of the things that I have found, if I let my super glue sit for too long, the nozzle clogs up. So I just take a straight pin and run it down through there to make sure that my nozzle's clear. And I just put a little dab on there. You know, like Brill cream, a little dab will do you. Then I got my 3D sticker eyes in 6mm. You want to be very careful that you don't get glue on your fingers here, because that'll really ruin your day trying to get these eyes on straight. You don't want to get too much glue on there, because it'll make a mess. See, that one didn't quite stick. There we go. Want to make sure that they're even, which is going to be challenging to not get glue on your finger, or you're in the process of making sure they're even. There we go. And you're just going to let them sit for a few seconds to make sure the glue sets up. Okay. Now I got Solarez UV resin. And this is in the thick also. And then I thin it down with Solarez has a thinner that you can get. So I thin it down to the consistency that I want. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't use it, you know, stock the way it comes. You're just going to build that head, filling in behind the eyes, trying your best not to get it too much on the egg sac. And then to make sure that you got a good coat, you're going to take your Solares thick now before you hit it with the light, you want to take you want to make sure the eye is clear, so just use an old spent feather with the stem exposed and run it down through there. Make sure that the eye is clear. And you want to give this a good cure. You're looking at probably 10 seconds of exposure from each direction. And there you go. Custom tied. Oh, it got dark. Scary. Isn't that cool looking? Custom tied tail Alevin. Excuse me. You will find this and other cool fish catching bugs on my website at www.custom-tied.com. That's custom-tied.com. Have a splash. Don't forget the dash. And please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Happy tying.